Everyone is a writer. This is true even if you don't think of yourself as one, because you're actually writing all the time, whether it be in the form of messages to other people, notes to yourself, or in simple forms like grocery lists. But we also all write in more complex ways. We write to stay organized, and we write to think through ideas. We write to remember that which we're afraid to forget, and we write to give concepts and topics the visibility we think they deserve. In truth, everything we do is centered around writing. The way we learn, the way we talk, the way we share. Writing is crucial, and you are a writer. A problem we have as writers, though, is that no one talks about how to write in a meaningful way. There's a major issue with basically any book or video that tells you it's going to teach you how to write. It assumes that the start of the writing process involves you sitting there in front of a blank piece of paper or an empty screen. That isn't the starting point. The starting point was way before, but we don't talk about it. Here's what I mean. When we sit down and write, we have an understanding of what it is that we're trying to create. We are, in essence, just assembling the past, our past thoughts that we've had on any given subject, and our past references and connections that we've made that feel related. This is the true starting point. But when we have to hold all of that in our minds as we sit in front of a blank page, jumping from fuzzily remembered idea to idea, we're at a massive disadvantage. There's a better way, and it starts by taking better notes. You see, good writing comes from good note-taking. Turning something that is already written in your notes into something new is incomparably easier than having to hold everything in your mind and deal with that mythical, unhelpful idea of a blank page. So how do you take good notes? Well, I'll tell you, it turns out that we can learn quite a bit from the story and process of a man named Niklas Luhmann, a sociologist with an incredibly prolific career. Over the course of his lifetime, he wrote over 70 books and hundreds of scholarly articles, all about wildly different subjects. And when he was asked how he was able to write so prolifically and on such a variety of topics, he said that he owed his entire career to what he called the slip box. Whenever Luhmann encountered something that interested him, he would make a note. The note would be handwritten, in his own words, and on something roughly the size of an index card. He would then store that in one of two places, which he called slip boxes. One of the boxes contained entirely information that he came across in his reading, and the other contained his own ideas, his own comments, his own thinking. The key, in my opinion, is that second box. By constantly writing his own thoughts and not just copying the thoughts of others, everything that went into the slip boxes had value. Just amassing notes may not lead to anything but a mass of notes, but Luhmann's slip box wasn't an archive, it was an idea generator, an engine for thought and productivity. And because it generated new ideas easily, more notes were added all the time. It was fun to use. We could talk all day about the details of the slip box system, but I'm here to talk about you. Here's how to take notes in a similar way so that you can be more productive than ever. There are only a few things that you truly need to create a smart and simple note-taking system. A way to capture ideas as soon as they come up, a method of writing that allows you to take notes in your own words and through your own lens, and a system to collect and manage all of your notes so that you can easily connect ideas. Here's why each of those concepts is key. It's important to have the ability to capture ideas immediately because you want to focus on complexity at the level of the note and not the note app. Picture this. You're reading a book or you're listening to a podcast and you hear an idea that you really want to capture, and you open up your phone and find yourself forced to think about not the amazing idea you just heard, but instead about where it's going to go and what folder it should be filed under and what tags you should add after you've finished. You've already failed. This is a complex system, and it's bad because capturing information in sporadic ways means that you'll lose track of what you wrote and where you wrote it. It's important to write in your own words because doing so means that you'll capture more complete and original ideas instead of just compiling quotes that soon lose all context and meaning. If you've only really highlighted here and there or transcribed a quote, you're depriving your note collection of actual substance. When you take notes, pretend that you're writing for someone else, because future you is someone else and will benefit greatly from a more fully fleshed out idea that's still interesting after the reference that it came from is out of mind. Finally, and this is truly important, you have to have a system that not only manages your notes, but connects ideas from one to the next. As you collect notes, make a habit of thinking about other things that you're interested in, other topics that might be emerging from within. Are there any ideas that interest you? Think about how a new concept you might come across could interact with another one that had come before it. Does it support it, or does it contradict it? Does it add to it, or does it reveal an entirely new direction to go in? Is there two fragmented ideas that can be combined into something new, something fully fledged? If you view each note or reference as completely isolated, your brain will likely close them off from one another. But I would imagine that there are ideas threaded through multiple sources that interest you even more than the actual material that you're reading. Your note-taking system should set you up so that the linking of original thought is what's front and center. Follow your interests and take whatever path might promise the most insight. Having this simple system will free your brain of distraction and worry, allowing it to wander fluidly from idea to idea instead of feeling bogged down by the mental weight of remembering everything. Instead of worrying about the experience of note-taking, you can just get to work. So now that you have a good system, it's time to tell you the best part. Remember how I said that we're all writers? Having a good note-taking system is the secret to being a great writer. If you've transformed your note collection from an archive of quotes into a space to quickly make meaningful connections, then you'll find that your notes are doing the work of writing for you. It's at this point that you'll recognize that the tricky idea of a blank sheet or screen is a lie. Within your note collection lies a better path. Instead of thinking about a writing project as if you were starting from scratch, recognize that you already have a rough draft prepared. Your notes. You aren't starting from nothing. You're taking what you've already written and you're turning it into something more cohesive. Having a good note-taking system shifts what your work actually is. It's no longer writing, now it's reading and coming up with ideas. The notes are a physical manifestation of your thoughts, and they act as the first draft of what you're trying to write. And this is so powerful because when you have a collection of notes that feels open-ended and well-documented and easy to link together, it'll all just click. There's something else that comes from a system like this, and it's just as important as a finished piece of writing: mental clarity. When asked about his own research process, Luhmann said this: "I only do what is easy. I only write when I immediately know how to do it. If I falter for a moment, I put the matter aside and I do something else." Having a clear purpose will stop you from trying to figure out what you should learn and distinguish the actual thoughts that you desire to retain. You'll find that instead of running into the brick wall that is memory loss, you'll remember more and be more passionate about that which you remember because it's meaningful to you in a significant way. When your brain can trust the system you've put in place and knows that everything is going to be taken care of, it'll finally let go of trying to store all of that information and instead feel freed up to do the much more important work of connecting. Once you start taking notes in this way, you'll be fascinated by how much more likely it is that you'll act on your notes. It's simple, yes, but taking notes should be simple. It needs to be simple because we can only deal with so much complexity, and we want to save that for where it matters, the actual material that we're pulling from. It's easy to forget that the way that we handle our tools is just as important as the tools themselves. If we try to use them without putting any thought into how they work, we don't do the tools justice. Your collection of notes can be a helpful space for linking thoughts or a graveyard. Make sure that the habits you employ allow you to make the best use of your tools. Build good note-taking habits, take good notes, and get writing.